A very big welcome to you wherever you are listening to this Coaching Cafe, either live with us here on a Friday all around the world, or perhaps you're listening to us on your favorite streaming service. My name's Natalie Ashtar from the Open Door Coaching Group. Welcome to our Coaching Cafe, where today we're going to unpack the coaching demonstration that we heard last week. And in particular, we're thinking about the differences between ACC and PCC competencies. And I'm really excited. There's so much to share with you today. So thank you for joining us from all around the world. We've been saying hello to everybody. And thank you for taking this time out. I think being able to schedule this half hour for your professional development every week, I really acknowledge you for doing that. We certainly enjoy bringing this to you. And you being able to schedule that into your diary amongst everything that's going on in your world is really great. So we really acknowledge you. And of course, I'm joined by the fabulous Paula Jones-Hunt, our resident HR specialist today on the line, who will give us some insights as well. Welcome, Paula.
Welcome, everyone.
So before we begin, as always, let's acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands on which we're all meeting today, their continuing connection to the land, the waters and communities of Australia, and the lands from all around the world where you might be joining us today: India, Singapore, across the road in Perth, down the road in Brisbane, wherever you might be joining us. We pay our respects to them, their elders past, present and emerging, and elders from Indigenous communities from all around the world. So if you are new to the Coaching Cafe, welcome. We come together at this time every Friday to share thought-provoking conversations, to share our professional development together, to really stretch ourselves in terms of our coaching and our coaching competencies. And if you are a regular, welcome back. You know that we love having you join us either live here or on your favorite streaming service. So thank you for joining us. So let's get into it. And today, so let's just set the scene. Last week, we were able to listen to a coaching demonstration from Brigitte, our Learning and Development Manager. So we actually took the time out to listen to that recording, and we've made the audio transcript available to you. So today you need two documents. You need your audio transcript, so we can look at the actual transcript and have a think about it. And you need your ICF Core Competencies. So if you have those two documents alongside you, then that will actually prompt our conversation. You can also have the notes. So I did set you homework last week. You can tell me if you did it or not. But to really go back and explore the ICF Core Competencies and to think about the coaching demonstration that we heard in that light. I have spent quite some time actually tossing up which competencies we should actually discuss today during our time together. And I've settled on going after competency number 7, which is evokes awareness. So we're thinking about evokes awareness, and we're thinking about the difference here between ACC and PCC. And the reason we're doing this is because there's many alumni on the line that are already ACC, and I know that you're stretching to PCC. The other thing is by listening to this coaching demonstration, we can all be better coaches. So I achieved my MCC several years ago now, and I can assure you that by listening to Brigitte's last 2 coaching demonstrations, it has evoked awareness in me around what I need to focus on more in terms of the development of my coaching. So there's lots of opportunity we have in this coaching demonstration, and that's what I'd like to focus on today. We could have gone after any of the core competencies. Next week, we'll go after a different core competency, but this is the one where I think, especially in this coaching demo, you're going to hear the difference between ACC and PCC. So let's unpack that together. First of all, the definition of evokes awareness is facilitates client insight and learning by using tools and techniques such as powerful questioning, silence, metaphor, or analogy. So a very broad definition of what evokes awareness means. But as I mentioned, we're interested in the differences of what takes us from, say, ACC level coaching, which is a great, solid end of your certificate for in workplace and business coaching. You're all coaching at ACC level, but pushes us beyond ACC, potentially into PCC. By the way, very keen that you pop all your thoughts and comments into the chat, and I'll pick those up as we go along. Let's take a look at actually evoking awareness in more depth. the first elements are considers the client experience when deciding what might be most useful. And number 2 is the one that I want to point out to you first. Challenges the client in a way to evoke awareness or insight. Now, in our transcript, the very first insight we get here to evokes awareness is Brigitte asking the question, what makes this an important topic for you to bring today? So instantly for those of you that have the transcript there, we're at 1 minute 30. And the client has opened up to say that they want to talk about exercise. We've all coached around exercise, haven't we? It's a classic, what's the first thing in the very first day of the certificate for workplace and business coaching? When we practice our grow model, everyone talks about exercise. I'm going to coach next week and I'll probably use exercise as the coaching demo, just that light touch coaching, it's the coaching example. So the client talks about exercise, struggling to make the first step, and talks about the bad habits of sitting at the desk and prioritizing work. So Brigitte summarized that, and the coachee says, yes, that's correct. Now, the difference here between ACC and PCC is good, solid ACC coaching would take what the client wants, exercise, and say, okay, what kind of goal do you want to set around exercise? What's your goal for exercise? And it's literally stepping through potentially the extended grow model here. But don't forget, in our extended grow model, for those that you have done it, one of the key questions which evokes awareness in the extended grow model is, well, what makes it important? Why are we even talking about that? And that's the first step in evoking awareness that Brigitte's actually included here. So rookie coach would have just gone, all right, so what are we talking about? How many times do you want to exercise? What are we talking about here? What kind of exercise do you want to do? What's your goal around exercise? And we would have gone down that pathway. But the evokes awareness comes from asking about what's the important topic you want to bring. Then the client talks about that they should be working all the time. So we've got a limiting belief that's been flagged there. At 1 minute 41, we've got a limiting belief. A ACC level coach would have done a very good job if they took that limiting belief and did a reframe on it. So what's the opposite from working all the time? How much would you like to be working? How much would you like to do in terms of your exercise? Where are you going to fit it in? What would it look like? Can you hear that line of questioning? That would have been great, solid ACC coaching. What Brigitte did here in evoking awareness is she asks the question, I'm wondering what makes you think you should be working all the time. So taking what the client has actually said, but expanding out to create that awareness of, well, what makes you think you should be working? Now, she didn't say it with that tone. She said it in a really curious and open manner, that's under developing a coaching mindset. But what makes you think you should be working all the time? Now, here, what she's done, sorry if I get, I sound very excited, don't I? I'm not going to apologize for that. I almost did, but here, what Brigitte's actually done is, thank you for the love hearts, it's very sweet. She's asked a question for the client in a way to stretch the third part there of establishing a coaching agreement. I beg your pardon, of evoking awareness. What she's actually done there is ask questions about the client, such as their way of thinking, values, needs, wants, and beliefs. So she's exploring their needs. Ask questions about the client, such as, sorry, I've just read it wrong, but it's ask questions about the client, such as their way of thinking, values, needs, wants, and beliefs. Not quite framed, the grammar's not quite good there, is it? But anyway, so here, Brigitte has gone straight after the values and beliefs. Why is this important is the values question, and the beliefs. What makes you think that you should be working all the time? So she hits number 3 straight away. As I said, good, strong ACC coaching would be to reframe that up front. A rookie coach just starting out would just proceed with reality. And that would be nice coaching as well. So even though the client has brought out this limiting belief, a rookie coach probably might not have caught it, and they would have just gone, okay, what else is happening? And that would have been lovely coaching as well. But what I'm trying to show you is the difference and the stretch. So Brigitte is evoking awareness to really start to unpack this in the very beginning. I see it as a ball of wool, and we're just going to prise open that ball of wool. Actually, I do see it as Christmas lights. You know, when you pull your Christmas lights out and you've got a bunch of Christmas lights and now you've got to untangle them all. I see this as a Christmas lights kind of question. All right, let me pause for a minute. Thoughts, comments from the floor, Paula, or yourselves jumping in?
Yeah, I think this is that really cool piece that says, and when we say a rookie coach or an ACC coach, it's not about it, it's still great coaching, right? So when you move into the grow model, it's still great coaching. This is about how do we really figure out in that evoke an awareness, why is this important to this person? What makes this really an important topic? And I really like that idea around the limiting beliefs is what's stopping you at this point because you've got a belief about something. And if you can delve into that before you head into reality, then you're going to get a better outcome as you're going through.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for pointing that out. It does come under establishes and maintains an agreement, which as you say is trying to establish what we are talking about. But the evoking awareness part is where we really stretch it out and really explore. And so thank you for pointing it out. The number 4 here is ask questions that help the client explore beyond their current thinking. And number 5 is invites the client to share more about their experience in the moment. And we hear this really clearly up front as well, because Brigitte, the coachee now talks at minute 2 minutes 49 around actually they've slipped into a habit by feeling validated by being busy, by constantly working or being at work or working from home. And again, good coaching would be to pick that up and would be to say, that's part of reality, that's what's happening. So what are your options there? So we're going to move, into the more extended grow model. We can ask those extended grow model questions around reality as well. How is this an impact on you? What differences are making? And that is all really evoking great awareness. So it's helping the client explore beyond their current thinking and share more about what their experience is. So if you're doing the extended grow model in this with these questions, you're doing really great coaching, really strong ACC level coaching, because you're understanding the impact and exploring further. The key question here that Brigitte asks, which is more pushing into it is high PCC level. We're expecting this coaching demonstration actually to be potentially assessed at least high PCC level, potentially MCC. And Brigitte and I have talked about where she might be held back from hitting MCC, and that is the case. And as you know, I've failed a couple of my MCC exams as well. So we're stretching our thinking. Where the thinking really comes out, where the stretch of the thinking comes out, is she asks, "What do you mean by being validated, and by whom?" So the key thing here in our coaching. And I asked this coaching question just this week as well. How do you mean, or what do you mean by being validated? And then what we're doing here is finding out by whom is the validation coming from? And in particular, we're interested in, is this a belief that the client is holding? Are they holding themselves back through internal chatter? Or is it external validation that they're looking from, and that's what's holding them back? So finding out where that voice or that validation is coming from is really important here. And then Brigitte goes on to say that I'm hearing that what's preventing you from moving forward or doing the exercise, taking the time for yourself, she summarized there, which is really nice. Again, rather than just going for it, there's more conversation that the client is actually offering And now the client is getting that awareness by sharing more about what their experience is. They're getting more of that awareness as they go through. And then the critical question she asks is, so how would you now define the challenge for you? What a beautiful question. So what's happened is we've started out down this pathway of I need to get some exercise. She's asked more questions that explore beyond the current thinking. They share more about the experience that's happening for them in the moment. So we've opened up, we've evoked that awareness. And now the coach has asked, how would you now define the challenge for you? So remember in our grow model, sometimes when we talk about the G and we go into the R, and because we're talking about the reality, things start to change and the client might start to think about the goal differently. And good, strong ACC level coaching would be asked about, has the goal changed? Remember in our reality questions, we say, before we go on to options, is this goal still relevant for you? Is this the goal that you'd like to now focus on? Because we're going to now talk about options for achieving the goal. Very good, strong ACC coaching would check in. And actually, it's part of our establishing the agreement. Good, strong ACC coaching would check in and make sure that the goal that we want to discuss now, whether it's changed, whether it's still relevant, how important is it to you on a scale of 1 to 10? Where do you have control over the goal? Where do you have influence over the goal on a scale of 1 to 10? And reaffirming that that's the goal we want to take through. So that is lovely coaching, very strong coaching. What's happened here from a PCC level, high PCC level coaching, is the coach has asked a beautiful question, which I think we should all just put on our tool belts and make sure that we ask it in our coaching over the next week. How would you define the challenge for yourself now? You started off here. Now we're talking about something different. You, coachee, define the challenge. And that is what has opened up. And at 7 minutes into the conversation, the coachee says, well, actually, in just this short conversation, you've helped me see a little bit clearer, because they were seeing it as making time for exercise, but now actually there's something deeper. And the coach has opened up what's under the surface. And the coachee also talks about that later on in the coaching session, what comes under the surface. It's very exciting. I love, as you know, I'm a bit of a coaching nerd. I love listening to great coaching. I also love analysing the coaching with our core competencies available to us so that we can hear the difference and then we can bring that into our coaching as well. Let me pause for a moment, see if you have questions, comments you'd like to make.
Yeah, I really love that, Natalie, that generally what people come up with as the first thing they want to talk about isn't actually the first. It's the surface of what they want to talk about, but there's something deeper that's going on for them that's causing that first thing to be relevant. So this idea that about you, I mean, you can coach on the top level surface idea, but if you're coaching on the next level down or several layers down, it's going to be a more enriched conversation. Absolutely.
And I think that it's good to point out, Paula, as you did, that it is strong ACC coaching. It's what we want. We want that level of coaching when you've exited or as you're developing yourself through the certificate for and workplace and business coaching. You're coaching at level 1 in the ICF, which is wonderful. And then, as we say, what does the stretch look like through to PCC and beyond into MCC? Let me point out a couple of other things for you as well. Supports the client in reframing perspectives. We've just heard about that. The other one is shares, now I'm jumping down to number 11 now, shares observations, insights and feelings without attachment to enable the client to create new learning. There's a beautiful point here at 9 minutes, another beautiful question the coach asks. She says, just to clarify, the spending all the time working that you've talked about, what do you make that mean for you? So the coach has done number 6. Notice that this line of, and I asked Brigitte about this, number 6 in our evokes awareness is the coach. The coach is aware that this line of questioning is actually working to enhance the client's progress. That's number 6 in the actual thing. So I asked Brigitte about it, and she said, yes, I noticed that this line of questioning was working for the client because the client is opening up more and the client is sharing more information, and we're unpacking this topic even more. So because she's noticed that line of questioning, she's able to go with so spending all the time working that you've talked about, what do you make it mean for you? So again, digging deeper into identifying factors that influence the current thinking, the behaviors, the emotion, and then asking that question without attachment. The client talks about there's a sense of worth, a sense of value. I suppose in simple terms, spending a lot of time being busy working means I'm doing a good job and what I'm doing is worthwhile, that I have value. And because of that, I suppose that's really what's behind that. And then Brigitte asked the question about that sense of worth. And she did stack the question, which she pointed out. But if you were to have that sense of worth, what would it look like and feel like? Here is the reframe. So it's such a subtle reframe, but it opens up the massive opportunity to explore. Bridgette's made the observation around the sense of worth coming from work, and the clients shared that. But the supports the client in reframing perspectives, which is number 10. Apologies, you can see I'm jumping around a little bit here. But that's the reframe. If you would listen to the question, if you were to feel that sense of worth in a way that allowed you to have more balance, what would it look like or feel like? And it's a beautiful reframe that then allows that thinking to come out. And as Scott's pointed out here, what an empowering way to frame the question. It's not what does that mean to you, but what are you making that mean for you? Exactly. Thank you, Scott, for pointing that out. And then if you were to have that sense of worth that you're actually describing, and it wasn't like this through busyness. So she didn't even say, if you weren't to be busy and you weren't doing that, what would you be doing? That's a nice reframe, but you can hear the subtlety of this reframe coming out as well. Go ahead, Paula, you were going to jump in as well.
No, I just, I'm just nodding my head because it's such a beautiful question and it's such a beautiful way to reframe it. And I'm thinking in my own head how I would answer that question, because it changes how it feels for me. So if I was asked that question, I was like, oh, that's a different way of thinking about it, which I guess evokes insights from the coachee.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. She's going along with this line of thinking that there's more here, that the coachee has attached their worth, their values, etc., to being busy, to working a lot. So rather than going for the straight reframe here, which would have been very nice, she by asking the questions, lets the coachee do the reframe. I hope you're hearing that. I don't mean to labour the point, but Brigitte doesn't do the reframe. The coachee actually does the reframe for themselves, and that's what's really important and powerful. We might spot it as coaches that this needs a good reframe, okay, and we could go directly after that. But allowing these open questions and the exploration and the curiosity means that the client will do that reframe themselves, and that's what actually comes through the coaching. Got it? I know we're right on time. There's so much to learn from this coaching demonstration, and that's why I'd like to really honour at this point Brigitte, who's made this coaching demonstration available, and also Josh, both of them having the courage to offer this coaching demonstration for our learning is something that's really, we're very appreciative and we acknowledge. One more point. At point 12, go back to having a look at establishing a coaching agreement. What a lovely way to just double check that we're on track here with the coaching. I'm wondering, given where we're at now, So at 12 minutes, right, Bridget's opened up all of this awareness, but it is still coachee led. That's the critical thing. We've opened up the awareness, but we're still going to make sure that the coachee is leading this conversation, that the coach is partnering with the person, with the coachee throughout this conversation. How does she partner? How does she let the coachee lead the conversation? I'll leave this as the last thought for you. Brigitte asks, I'm wondering, given where we're at now, what would you like to walk away with at the end of our time together? What would you like to have accomplished? And at 12 minutes, we've still got 20 minutes left of the conversation, hypothetically. Now that you've gotten all this information, and I get goosebumps thinking about it, what would you like to have now at the end of the conversation? What would you like to have accomplished? We do that in the extended grow model by checking in again before we go on to options. But here, we're evoking the awareness. We're giving the client the opportunity to say, you've got all this awareness and self-awareness, and you've had the courage to unpack all of this information. Where would you like to take this conversation? So it is completely client-led. And because of that, we open up what I'd call the second phase of the coaching conversation, which is further evoking awareness, the partnering, the trust, etc., which we will talk about next week. So next week, if you haven't had the chance to listen to the coaching recording, listen to it again. Bring out your ICF Core Competencies, bring out the transcript again, and next week we'll get into other parts of the core competencies as well. There you go. Some key things to think about. We are right on time. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad that you're really enjoying the conversation we're having. We are really stretching our coaching here, because as I said, as I'm listening to it, I'm becoming a better coach. We have such a wonderful learning opportunity. So thank you for taking the time to do that, everybody. With that in mind, I will say thank you for joining us. See you next week as we continue to unpack even further, and always enjoy your coaching.